Once again, I have another video for you tonight about the situation at Napeague State Park. I did a video last night about the severe Southern Pine Beetle outbreak that was there, and obviously it is a very important ecosystem. I have another article that I'm going to read to you that's actually better than the one I read to you last night. So as you can see, yeah, we went over this last night, that the beetle outbreak is just tremendous over there. It really is tremendous, and it's caused a lot of devastation. There's just not a whole lot left. This is the latest street view. It does show some areas that are still okay. This is one area here. There's still some areas that are okay and remaining. This is as of September 24, but as you see, here you go, and then you hit this area where the infestation is, and it's just total destruction here, and this whole vast swath of trees is dead. And here's one that's being affected here, and it's only a matter of time before it spreads to these trees. And it's an article, basically, I'm going to read to you about the New York State's efforts. And, I criticized them yesterday. I don't feel that they acted fast enough, but we don't know if it would have made a difference in the end. We don't know, even if they did act a little sooner, whether it would have. But you can see the vast amount of destruction here. It is such a shame to see all this destruction. Again, I went over this yesterday, and this just goes on and on and on for miles, at least. Just nothing but dead trees. There's what was a beautiful pine here being killed. Again, the street view was as of September 2024. If we go back to December 2021, you can see all the pines here are just doing fine. Again, this outbreak started around 2022, so and it just continued to get out of control really, really fast. And again, this is a coastal pitch pine duneland forest. That's a beautiful, beautiful place. And again, this is an old street view. This is what it used to look like. And that's what we got right now. So total destruction here. And there will have to be a plan to, you can see this, the majority of the park has been lost. There are areas that are still okay. This area here is, at least on the satellite showing up, it's okay. Let's see. Yeah, all right, so you can see exactly, this is a little further north, but you can see just this total, it's just horrible destruction that's happened here. And I don't want to hear any comments, these stupid comments, the climate isn't changing. Go and take a hike in Napeague. All right? It's proof of climate change right there. All right? Proof of it. This is proof of climate change. Why? Because the winters aren't cold enough. That's why. All right? This wouldn't be happening if we had cold winters like we were supposed to have. All right? So let's go to the article now. This is from the East End Beacon. This is a better article than the other one, and actually has more information on it. So I'm going to read you this one here. And it says, state proposes prescribed burns and felling of trees in response to Napeague pine beetle infestation here. And since the southern pine beetle was first detected in Napeague and Hither Hills, I should say Napeague, not Napeague. It's Napeague. It's one of those names that's going to be, because I see the E-A-U-G, and I think of Patchogue, and I pronounce it like that, but no, it's Napeague. In Napeague and Hither Hills State Park in the fall of 2021, so that's when it was first detected, it has spread rapidly throughout the Napeague area, killing about 40,000 trees. This has not only drastically changed the landscape of this rare ecosystem, but the dead pitch pine trees also pose a risk of wildfires. This incredibly invasive southern pine beetle was first documented on Long Island at the Wertheim National Wildlife Refuge in 2014 and has since proved to be a deadly scourge on Long Island pitch pines from Napeague to the Northwest Woods and the Central Pine Barrens. Representatives from the New York State Office of Parks, Recreation, and Historic Preservation and the New York Department of Environmental Conservation gave an overview of their plan to manage the decimated landscape along the Napeague stretch at a well-attended... Okay, why did you just do that? This stupid thing. I have the Adblock Plus, and they constantly do that. I should really uninstall that because it's a pain in the neck. So, anyway, I hate being interrupted when I'm doing these videos. It's always something interrupting me. So it says, representative of the New York State Office of Parks, Recreation, and Historic Preservation and the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation gave an overview of their plan to manage the decimated landscape along the Napeague stretch at a well-attended forum February 13th at Montauk Downs State Park. The parks are now creating piles of dead trees that have been cut after succumbing to beetle infestation and are planning to hire a certified burn boss this spring who will spend the summer creating a plan to burn the piles and then execute their plan with a prescribed fire crew beginning this fall. So it's good to see prescribed fire being used here, and it needs to be used throughout the Pine Barrens. The parks also plan to continue to maintain the woodlands by thinning pitch pines to reduce the beetle spread, according to representatives at the meeting. Because, again, I think there's a big difference between New Jersey and Long Island, and kind of explained this to you, but we'll go over it again here. If you look at the way the pines are here, we'll go ahead and look at the way the pines are here on Long Island, and I can go to many, many different areas to show you this, but we can talk about this area here. You can see how close together the trees are. They're very close together, and that actually helps the beetles spread very, very quickly. Whereas we compare it to New Jersey, we'll go pick any area in New Jersey here. I'll go to Whiting here. We'll go along here. Actually, this is not a good example. Let's pick another example here. I'll find, yeah, right here. By Harry Wright Lake. Not the right spot either. Yeah, here we go. So when we compare it to New Jersey, this is what New Jersey's looks like. You can see the trees are much further spaced apart. So there's more space in here because they do a lot of controlled burns, and that keeps the vegetation from getting too dense. So anyway, I'll get back to the article here. I'll just try to explain what they're saying here. Many of the habitats in both parks are very rare and imperiled globally, said Lynn Bogan, Environmental Stewardship Coordinator for New York Parks, particularly the Maritime Pitch Pine Dune Woodlands, which, again, Maritime Pitch Pine Dune Woodlands do not exist in New Jersey. From my knowledge, they only exist on Long Island and on Cape Cod. They're very dense with pitch pines, and the maritime heathland, dwarf shrublands, are like those found in Napeague State Park. Southern pine beetles follow pheromone trails left by other pine beetles to find new trees to infest, and they've been found to be able to follow these trails more readily in dense woodlands. Thinning the trees in these woodlands makes it more difficult for the beetles to follow these trails, said State Forest Health Specialist Becky Sibner at the meeting. And that's probably a part of the reason why New Jersey isn't getting hit like we are. If I see a southern pine beetle tree in New Jersey, it's just that one tree. It doesn't spread to other trees because, again, the trees are much further apart. So if we look here, you'll see the distance between the trees is much bigger compared to what it is in other areas. And again, that's the way New Jersey's forests are, and that's why New Jersey does not have the kinds of southern pine beetle outbreaks that we do. We'll look over here as well, and you can see again. Look at the distance between the trees here. There's a big distance. You could tell just by looking even at the satellite. We can look at Jake's Branch, for instance, Jake's Branch Park, which is, of course, a place I love to go to. And you see the way the trees, you see how the distance is between the trees here? And then you go and you look at Long Island, and it's a different story. If you go look at a lot of our pine barrens, you could see that the trees are much closer together. Look at how much closer together they are. And that's a big problem. Especially Sarnoff, where they see now this looks a little more like New Jersey, right, because of what they did here. So this is what they have to do. They have to make it more like New Jersey in order to stop these beetles, and that's why New Jersey is not getting hit as hard. This is so hard to manage. By the time you have an outbreak, there's very little you can do. This moves very quickly. This is special Forest Health Specialist Becky Sibner speaking. From the time the beetle enters the tree, you have 2 to 3 months before the tree dies, said Miss Sibner. In 2022, it took off through the parks. She said the hot summer in 2022 allowed more generations of pine beetles to be born, and the infestation can move at a rate of up to 120 feet per day in every direction. That summer, so they did act in 2022. They actually did respond fairly quickly. That summer, the parks began cutting down every infected tree and trees in a buffer zone around the infestation and thinning the trees at Promised Land. The cutting was halted for the summer season in 2023 because of the northern long-eared bat, which nests in those woods. It's a federally endangered species. And the suppression cuts didn't work anyway, she said, showing a before and after photo. These photos are devastating. There's not much you can do sometimes. 25 acres of state park land near the walking dunes also burned in July of 2022, and while that fire mostly involved grassland, It highlighted the inaccessibility of parts of the parks and the need for future fire mitigation. Unable to cut more trees in the summer of 2023, the parks began looking at long-term planning, focusing on the goals of mitigating threats to public safety and protecting rare and vulnerable species and strengthening the resiliency of the ecosystem, said Ms. Sibner. So here's again, look at all the dead trees here, and these here on the left are currently being killed. You see the red needles; these are already dead. So, and this is along the Napeague stretch on Route 20 and on Route 27. So that route work included the State Department of Transportation's cutting of trees along Montauk Highway and the creation of 2 miles of fuel breaks between private homes and the parks in the winter of 2024 and 2020. And in the winter of 2023 to 2024, they did some breaks. That was a pretty extreme step. It was very much for public safety, said Ms. Sibner. In these specific locations, it felt like the right thing to do. In 2024, with a limited window in which they could work, in the winter, the parks prioritized cutting dead trees from within 10 feet of trails and mowing shrubs to keep potential ground fires from spreading to the canopy of trees. The hiring of a burn boss, wildlife fighting position that includes expertise in safety planning and burning fuels, is what's known as a prescribed fire will be a major part of the park's plan going forward, and this is exactly what New Jersey does. She also added that the burn boss will coordinate with local fire departments and submit plans for approval by the New York State DEC. We can't do this all at once. It will be a several-year process. She added that the parks plan to conduct its management with as little disturbance as possible to rare species and sensitive habitats, and plans to restore pitch pine dune woodland and oak pine forest habitats, maintaining a healthy density of trees and creating a shifting mosaic, a habitat to increase the long-term resiliency to southern pine beetle, spongy moth, and climate change. So, and again, this is what New Jersey does, and this is why you're not seeing New Jersey being hit as hard. And as far as Cape Cod goes, I don't think they've done that over there yet, but it's only because the climate's a little colder there. It's only a matter of time before they have to deal with it too. I think this is going to have to be done in all the pine barrens eventually to make sure that these beetles do not spread. Because, again, pine barrens need fire to survive. The fire is a way of weeding out the weaker trees, and it thins the forest naturally. But when you have, obviously, things are so far gone here on Long Island that they have to actually do mechanical thinning as well. So the goal long-term is to have these regenerated trees be spread far out enough that the beetle won't be congregating in these masses, said Ms. Sibner. Unhealthy trees probably will be attacked by the beetles, but our hope is we can regenerate a healthy community and have this never happen again. This effort has already cost $2 million, and state representatives at the meeting who added that they feel confident the state will prioritize funding this management in upcoming years. We did have an infestation at a couple of other locations, but we did not have it as bad as this, and that's why this is our focus, said George Gorman, the regional director of New York State Office of Parks, Recreation, and Historic Preservation. This is why we are reacting the way we are. This is a big step statewide, said Ron Roush, the Deputy Commissioner of Environmental Stewardship for New York State Office of Parks, Recreation, and Historic Preservation. We're going from the old way of doing things, passive management, to a much more active management at this site. Mr. Roush said, environmental stewards just don't know if the pine beetles are still as prevalent as they were at the height of the infestation, but expressed hope that this cold winter may suppress their population. So we've had some cold weather this winter, and we're getting some more cold weather, and that's just the main reason why I root for the cold weather. It needs to be cold. We need deep freezes to kill these things, or at least buy us some time so we can treat the forest properly so this doesn't happen again. We're going to work with each other to protect each other, said East Hampton Town Councilman David Liss in the audience. This is extremely regional right now. What we're seeing is the state is coming to East Hampton fully versed with expertise, great interest, and finances to take control of this. What's different here from any other place on Long Island is that there's one road in and one road out. It's safety. And I'm very proud to be part of this conversation. So, yeah, because it is the only way through. And you don't want to have a big out-of-control wildfire cut off Montauk. The state is asking anyone with questions about the project to contact the new park manager, Timothy Watson, at 631-668-5000. So, great article, much better than the other one I read to you. It actually explains a lot more. But you can see here, this is what they did here at Sarnoff, and you can see We did a hike there a little while ago, and while there were some beetle outbreaks, they were more contained because of the thinning that they did, and they didn't spread as far. Um, it's really important. It's very important. And again, going back to Napeague here, um, there are some areas that haven't been affected, thank God. The Lazy Point Woods have not been affected. I don't see any beetle outbreaks here, thank God. But you'll notice something here already that looks different. The trees are further apart. So that's probably why that it hasn't been affected. So pitch pines need their space. They don't like being crammed in too close together, and you can see how beautiful it is over here. This area hopefully is going to be spared and not be affected by this, because it's absolutely beautiful over here. And I'm going to be getting here probably in March, so I'm going to plan on going out here. We do actually have that new on-demand bus service that pretty much, this is in that on-demand area. I can go take a bus directly here without having to walk so far. But this is a beautiful area. But even here, they may have to do a little bit of thinning perhaps to make sure that this doesn't happen again. We got to make sure that we keep the forest healthy. Pitch pines, again, fire is a vital part of the Pine Barrens, and unfortunately here on Long Island has been kept out of the Pine Barrens for so long that it's caused an unhealthy tree density and susceptibility to Southern Pine Beetle. And this is, again, why this hasn't happened in New Jersey. New Jersey did have outbreaks, but they've been very active in managing it, and because of that, again, when you see this, it looks like they did do some thinning over here, so this looks good over here. You can see this space between the trees here. But again, you look at Jersey, there's space between the trees, and that's why they don't have this issue with the Southern Pine Beetle, because they do have space between their trees. They manage it, and you can see the trees are much further spaced apart here. Looking at this spot, you can see the trees are spaced apart. There's some areas where there are a little too dense actually over here, which is why they did this thinning project over here. Again, where you see this is a much healthier density over here. Again, trees being bunched together is not. Fire is a natural force of the Pine Barrens. I mean, before we existed, it was started by lightning, and then when the Native Americans came, they also used fire to manage forests because they knew how to preserve the health. And you can see here again the space between the trees. So this is New Jersey, but this is what we need to make our Pine Barrens look more like. And I'm glad that New York State is understanding. This article actually made things a lot better. I think I might take down the other video because I think that it was a little misleading because that article just didn't have the right information in it. This one is much better. So I will thank New York State and these two women here for holding this because the pines are beautiful, but we've got to do whatever we can to save them and restore a healthy ecosystem, a healthy balance to the Pine Barrens, because climate change is here. Despite those who deny it, it is here. It's only going to get worse, and we have to prepare and make sure our forests, in a way, are hardened to deal with the consequences of climate change, because it's only going to get worse. Our winters are only going to get warmer, and our summers are only going to get hotter. And who knows in the future if we're even going to have Napeague as the sea level rises. It's a low-lying area, a lot of it. But anyway, thank you for watching, and have a good night.